These are two sub $200 Mac laptops, and the question is, should you buy them? So before we start, why in the world would you want a 7 to 10-year-old Mac computer? What use is it? Well, the way I see it, these computers are like Chromebooks with some extra functionality. For starters, a full flavor operating system is a real benefit when compared to Chrome OS, which is limited to say the least. Now, these laptops may not be as light and thin as many Chromebooks, but one thing to consider about old Apple laptops is the sheer availability of parts. These things grow on trees and parts of them are available everywhere, on the cheaper side of things, I guess. For example, here is a 2009 MacBook Pro. Its screen is kapooey. Just look at that thing. It's not even working. It's all seizure-y and crazy-like. Oh look, there you go. There's some parts for it right away. And you know, to be perfectly honest, that's a screen with enclosure. It has Wi-Fi and antenna bands and a camera and all that fancy jazz in it. And that's not a particularly outrageous price. Parts are everywhere. Support is very good considering that 10-year-old laptops can still run very updated versions of Mac OS. So, for $200, what can you get? The two laptops we have here are a 2010 MacBook and a 2008 MacBook Pro 15-inch. So, these laptops are actually quite similar. They both have 2.4 GHz Core 2 Duos, they both have 4 GB of RAM, upgraded from the standard, and they both have rather archaic video cards. They can both be found for about $150 to $200 on eBay, and I have to say, they are pretty surprisingly decent laptops. The MacBook can run the latest versions of macOS Sierra, no problem at all, and it has fairly decent performance for basic web browsing tasks. The MacBook Pro unfortunately can only be upgraded as far as OS X El Capitan due to its age, and doesn't allow for trackpad gestures due to its old-style button-clicky trackpad. Honestly, while I personally prefer the design of the MacBook Pro with its thinner bezels and the matte screen, which I think is actually really fantastic for its age, not to mention the aluminum enclosure, which I much prefer, I cannot recommend it due to its lack of support and modern amenities as far as Apple laptops go. However, there is a much more pressing reason why I would advise you to avoid these computers like the plague. It may seem tempting, because if you go on eBay, there are dozens of these for like $85. These things are outrageously cheap. So you may be wondering, there's gotta be a caveat. And you're right, there is. The 2008 variant, which I have here, is an unmitigated disaster of a computer because of its known video card issues with the NVIDIA chips. Apple laptops have had video issues in the past, but this is a whole new level. These things are complete garbage. Every single one of them in any 2008 computer either has or is about to completely fail. Basically, the video card goes zoinkers and the computer is dead forever. The particular laptop that I have here was in fact inflicted with the issue 2 years ago and pronounced dead by an Apple Store genius. However, thanks to some very easy DIY trickery and a fan control application, it is now working just fine. If you are interested in hearing the full story and also how I got the machine up and running, let me know in the comments section and maybe I'll post a video on it. Due to the fact that every single one of these has or will fail and there's nothing you can do about it, I really cannot realistically recommend it unless you absolutely barely use it, have a fan control application, and are willing to deal with all the noise that would produce, and are just really, really gentle with it. Most people don't want to go through all that trouble, so I would just stay away. So unless you are willing to put up with an older system for the MacBook Pro, like the 2006 model, which is not fast at all, I do not recommend you do that. I have to recommend the MacBook, simply because it is super durable, fairly updated, and surprisingly capable given its dual-core processor, and a Core 2 Duo at that. In testing, I was even able to play around with some Flash games and Minecraft, which runs pretty well on the little Core 2 Duo. But what about a newer MacBook Pro? Well, remember that 2009 model from earlier? The one with the Kapui screen? Well, that thing is actually worse as far as performance. It has an even more archaic video card, an older, slower 2.26 GHz Core 2 Duo, and a smaller stock hard drive of just 160 gigabytes. It may look a lot prettier, but the older hardware means it also cannot support macOS Sierra. It also can only go as far as El Cap, and really just is not something I would recommend buying now, as it's just beginning to lose support. Not to mention, it also costs a heck of a lot more due to the Pro moniker, which leads people on eBay to think it is fancier and more valuable. They're all like, ooh, look, backlight keyboard. Ooh, look, it's a MacBook Pro. That means it's fast. In summation, is there a use for an old MacBook like this? Yes, absolutely. As always, you should do your research. Make sure you don't get one that is completely beat to heck, that looks like it's been sitting at the bottom of a river, someone dug it up, turned it on for 4 seconds on life support, took a picture of it with their phone camera and posted it on eBay for $150. As long as you do your homework and make sure you don't get one that's too beaten up, this thing will give you surprising value for money. While it may not be the most high-end Apple laptop you could find, the keyboard is very solid, the trackpad has multi-touch, the screen has surprisingly rich and vibrant colors despite its age, and I personally feel like it's updated enough to be useful for the foreseeable future. In fact, if you went as far as to put an SSD in this thing, I'd even go so far as to call it snappy. So thanks guys for watching this video. If you have any questions or suggestions for other computers that you might be able to get for this very low budget of $200, please leave those down in the comments section below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you would like to support me, which you should, because, I don't know, why would you not?